Hey, I'm super excited to be here today to announce a new feature called tasks. Tasks bring more power to workflow automation, and with it, you get the ability of just run functionality. So they offer more control and flexibility. You can tailor branch and pipeline files, and you can also set parameters for each execution. They come in really handy whether you're a platform engineer or a developer. So let's first talk about some use cases for tasks. So they can be used for periodic testing, which means if you have resource intensive jobs, you can schedule when you want to run these. They can also be used for scheduled builds, which means that you can schedule when you want to perform a build if you have resource intensive builds or if you have nightly builds or something similar. They can also be used for inactive projects. For instance, if you have an outdated project or something deprecated and people are still using it, you can set up tasks to automatically check for dependencies if they are, for instance, outdated, or you can set up security checks. Then you can use them for custom automation, which means periodic execution of code, and you can track results, schedule notifications, and perform similar actions. So one of the things you can also use them for is repeated jobs. So for instance, you can set up database backups. This is one thing that every software needs. You can perform quality control. So you can, for instance, set up a scheduler that runs on specific times and see if your pipeline performs well. And you can also investigate that in specific times. You can also use them to perform corrective actions. For instance, one of them is cache pruning. So these are things that are triggered on a need basis. But one of the use cases that we haven't talked about is platform engineering. So tasks are actually tools that you can use to implement platform engineering principles directly through your CI/CD. You can establish base recipes for your infrastructure provisioning, and you can then use tasks to provision and set up your infrastructure easily. And with Semaphore's integrated role-based access control, you can actually perform that in a safe and secure manner. So let's actually check how we can use tasks to perform some light platform engineering practices. Okay, so to show off this example, I basically already have a task set up that's called provision GraphQL server. So this is basically just provisioning our infrastructure for setting up a new GraphQL server. So let's just click on the edit button to see how we can create a new task. So checking out the existing one, you can see that you need to name your target and provide a description, and then you basically specify what you want to run on which branch and which pipeline file you're actually using. So both of these are overridable when you are running a task. So you can basically run this task on any branch. Now what you need to provide is the pipeline parameters. These are basically like you need to specify a name, a description, and then develop options for that. Now to dive into this example, so we've basically created a basic Terraform script that provisions a GraphQL server. And for that, we need to provide the AWS region, the CPU, the memory, and the subnet where this thing will be residing. And the last parameter that we are using is the GraphQL image. So we have basically two different servers. So one is called Hasura and the second one is called Apollo. And based on this, we can provision any type of GraphQL server we want. Now, once this is basically set up, so what we need to do is, for instance, we have a folder called infrastructure, and in there we have a Terraform file, which you can basically see over here on the right. And once this task is set up, what we can actually do, if we go back to tasks, we can see that we can click on run now. And now what you need to do is just provide these parameters. And in the end, this will trigger the pipeline on our provision infrastructure branch. And if we check the edit workflow button on the provision service branch, you're going to see that what we have here is a basic workflow that just logs our job, and in the end, it sets up and runs the Terraform script. And this is how we can basically like start our platform engineering practices. So the first thing you need to do is basically move your scripts somewhere else, make them reusable so that you can basically provision infrastructure on demand. And this is just one way of doing this. So hope you've enjoyed this little demo. Make sure you check out tasks on your own and also check out the documentation for task. So happy building with this one. If you like this video, don't forget to click on the like button and also subscribe to our channel. Also feel free to leave any comments down below.